Hello everyone. Today we are going to continue our chapter that we started in our previous video, and that is We're Not Afraid to Die If We Can All Be Together by Gordon Cook and Ellen East. In my previous video, we have studied till here and we are going to continue from here by morning. So this is a story about the Gordon Cook and his family and two other crew men who decided to go on world voyage by ship, the name Wave Walker. So now here we know that the ship was being filled with the water, and by the morning on January 3rd, here we're going to start. If you haven't watched my previous video, so kindly watch so that you will get idea what the chapter is all about. So by the morning on January 3rd, the pumps had the water level sufficient under control for the sake us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. So they were working very hard, and by the morning till morning January 3rd, they were able to put the water under control and they were able to take rest in rotation for the 2 hours. But we still had the tremendous leak somewhere below the water line. But even working so hard, there was some leakage below the water line. And on checking eyes here, narrator found that nearly all the boats main rib frames. So rib frames here, the structure of the ships were smashed down to the kneel. Kneel is here collapse, fall. So now the main structure of the ship was collapsed, and in fact there was nothing holding up. So nothing was holding the whole section of the starboard, we know the right side of the ship. It was holding by a few cupboard partitions and nothing else. We is here all the members in the ship. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit. So they survived 15 hours. So they were working continuously for the 15 hours, but the wave walker wouldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. So he knew that. So wave walker was not in the condition to take all them to the to Australia. I is a narrator. Narrator checked charts, calculated that they were two small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. So narrator knew that there were two islands somewhere where they were at the present few hundred kilometers, and one of them is Ile Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. So it was a name that is Ile Amsterdam, and it was a scientific base. And our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. Pinpricks is like of a, a, a kind of pin, that size of pin. It was this type of island in the vast ocean. It was very very small, but unless the wind and seas abated is here uh, become calm, become the condition, if condition becomes better. So they, here is a we the all the people in the ship, so they could host sail, so that they could host the clothes. Sails, we know that the clothes is used for sailing, and our chances would be slim indeed. So he knew that the chances were very not almost nil. The great wave had put our auxiliary here is helping engine out of action. We know because of the waves the engines were not working properly, and even the helping engines out of action. On January 4th, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, they were putting the water out of the ship. We reached the last few centimeters of the water. Anyhow, they managed the water level. We had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. So they were to manage only the water coming in the ship. And we could not set any sail on the main mast. Why they could not? The pressure was on. Rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart because we know that the poles were damaged, they were broken, they had to repair it. Only then they could hoist the sail on the mast. So we hoisted the storm jib and headed for where I thought the two islands were. Mary found some corned beef. Corned is here that soaked in salt. So Mary found corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. Now you can imagine they were having their first meal after 2 days struggle. They were struggling very, very hard for lives. But our respite is here, break, rest. But their rest was short lived. At 4 p.m., black clouds began building up behind us. So again another danger, that the clouds were beginning to build up behind them. Within the hour, the wind was back to the 40 knots. Knots we have discussed, that unit of speed. And then seas were getting higher. The weather continued to deteriorate. Deteriorate is becoming bad throughout the night, and by dawn is here early in the morning. January 5th, our situation was again desperate. So still the condition was not in their favor. When I went in to comf- comfort the children, John is here, Jonathan, boy, asked, Daddy, are we going to die? I tried to assure him that we could make it easier, they could survive. But Daddy, he went on, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. So the boy, the age of 6, what he said, that they are not afraid to die if they can all be together. And this is our title too. And you and mommy, Sue is here, Susan and I. So he's talking about all the family members. So they were not afraid to die if they can all be together. So I is a narrator. Narrator could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything. So he decided to fight. Whatever he was having, he decided to struggle. He could not give in. To protect the weakened starboard side, I decided to heave to. With the undamaged port hull facing the upcoming waves, using an improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope, and then two 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin. And that evening, Mary and I sat together. On the particular evening, that Mary and the narrator sat together holding hands, as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks. Plank is here, long and thick piece of timber, or of, I can say that, long and piece or long and thick piece of timber. Now here the water was coming from the broken planks, and both is here, narrator and his wife, both felt the end was very near. So they were thinking they were going to die very soon. But the wave walker rode out the storm, and by the morning of January 6th, so here in the morning January 6th, with the wind easing, so wind became calm a bit, you can say that, a bit calm. And I try to get a reading on sextant is that the navigation, the device used for navigation. So it is here, navigational device. Back in the chart room, I worked on wind speeds and changes of course, drift, the current, and he checked everything, direction, the changes of the course, where they were floating, and then current, the flow of the water, and a current in, and an effort to calculate our position. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 150,000 kilometers of ocean, looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. So they were looking for an island that was approximately near to their position. While I was thinking, Suzanne, moving painfully, joined me. The left side of her head was now very swollen. We know her head was smashed, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. Slits is here opening. So her eyes were blackened and they were swollen too. She gave me a card she had made. So on that particular day, she made a card. On front, it has she has drawn caricature. Caricature is here funny picture of Mary and me. Me is here narrator. She made the picture of her mother and her father with the words. Some words were written there. Here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh? I laughed a lot as well. Inside was a message. Oh, how I love you both. So this card is to say thanks you and let's hope for the best. Somehow we had to make it. They had no option except surviving this difficult situation. And here I checked and rechecked my calculations, and we had lost our main compass, and I was using a spare is extra, which had not been corrected for magnetic variation, but it was not correct or the apt for the calculation. I made an allowance for this and another estimate of the influence of the westerly currents is here flow of water which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. So he checked the currents and estimate calculated his position, and about 2 p.m. I went on deck and asked Larry to steer. Steer is here that whenever we handle the wheel we use the word steer. So Larry to steer a course of 185 degree. So he told Larry to move 185 degrees if we were lucky. I told him with a conviction, with confidence, what he told, that I did not feel he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. So if he is right, if they move towards this particular direction, they could expect an island at about 5 p.m. Then with a heavy heart I went below, climbed on my bunk, we have discussed the bunk, and amazingly dozed off. Dozed off is here he slept, he went to sleep. When I woke up it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. It was dark by the time when he got up. I knew we must have missed the island. So he was sure that he has missed the island. But with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to beat the back into the westerly winds. At that moment, a tousled head. Tousled is here strange in appearance. So here at that moment, when he got up, he saw tousled head appeared by my bunk. Can I have a hug, Jonathan? Jonathan is a boy. What he said, can I have a hug? Sue was right behind him. Suzanne was there with him. Why am I getting a hug now? I asked. Asked the eyes here, narrator. Because you are the best daddy in the world, in the whole world, and the best captain. My son replied. That's why he wanted to have a hug, because he was the best daddy and best captain. Not today, John, I'm afraid, because maybe the narrator was sure that he has missed, and that's why he was saying he is not the best captain today. Why, you must be, said Sue in the matter of fact voice. You found the island. What? I shouted. Now you can imagine when he heard this word that they have found the island. So it was a great surprise for Gordon Cook, or for the narrator. It is out there in front of us, they chorused. Chorus, they said in unison, as big as a battleship. I rushed on the deck and gazed is here look. He looked at with he looked with relief at the stark outline of the Ill Amsterdam. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock. It was looking like a piece of volcanic rock with little vegetations, and most beautiful island in the world. It was very small, but no doubt it was beautiful too. We anchored that they gave a halt to their ship near the shore for the night, because they reached very late. They reached late in the evening, because it was 6 p.m. when the Jonathan came to narrator. And next morning, all 28 inhabitants, so there were only 28 people living there, of the island cheered as they helped us ashore. So they helped them to come on the shore. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie, cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress. So they were optimistic, they were sure that they could make it. And of Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. Most of all, I thought of the 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about her head injury, which subsequently took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot between the skins and skull. So the girl who was having injury, but she did not mention it because the father was already worried and he was so busy to survive, and he was working for all of them. And the 6-year-old boy who was not afraid to die. So not only the captain, not only the Gordon, but both the crew man, his wife, his daughter, son, they all worked equally. They all supported each other, and by their support they were able to land on Il Amsterdam. So this is the end of the chapter. I hope the chapter is clear. I have explained it line by line, and this is all about the chapter. And thanks a lot for watching. See you around.